brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless, but then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. Status quo. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Jordan Sheridan live. A little bit late on a Friday afternoon. I am rocking my new aviators. Let me know what you think. It's a bold fashion move by me, but I needed sunglasses. And I said, you know what? I've never had a good pair of aviators. Oh, channeling Biden? Do I look like Joe Biden? Wow, you make me want to return these. Well, they're prescription aviators. So, but you're right. Joe Biden does wear aviators. But I promise you, I don't sniff anyone's hair. I don't sniff anyone's hair. So, it's fantastic. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. Sorry I'm late, but I was just interviewing former Alaska Senator Mike Gravel. Former Alaska Senator Mike Gravel, who's running for president. So that went over a little bit. I'm going to air some of that interview today. The full interview will be airing this coming Sunday for our marathon live stream. And excuse me, the screen's going to go black for just 1 second as I show you what we got coming up on the live stream this Sunday at noon Eastern. So we'll have Mike Gravel and Ben Norton, independent journalist Ben Norton will be here in the flesh. He'll be right next to me sitting here. Ben is an expert on all things Iran, all things Venezuela, all things military-industrial complex. So I look forward to having him on Sunday, noon Eastern time. I just interviewed Mike Gravel on, what do you call it other than the Iranian war drums just pounding. God forbid, but we might even be at war by Sunday. So tune in, noon Eastern time, this coming Sunday for the marathon live stream. And before I get to the checklist, well, I'll get to this after the checklist. Again, I got to tell you the truth. It's tough. It's tough being in the independent media world. You know, there's you got great visionary titans like Jimmy Dore, and I can't tell Jimmy like, hey, don't go live when I'm going live. But unfortunately, Jimmy's live. So when Jimmy's live, we tend to have a little bit lower of an audience. So nothing I could do about that. He's going to go live when he goes live. But love Jimmy Dore. So what are you going to do? I'm not going to ask him to work around me, obviously. So he's live when he's live, and I go live when I go live, and hopefully our audience builds as more people see we're live. So, if you were tuning in yesterday, NBC News has denied status quo to go in and have credentials for the first presidential debate in Miami. Credentials are, credentials are what you need to get in the building. Credentials are what you need to be able to... $5 in the super chat. Bella boy, $5. Hey, Jordan, did you see Tulsi defended Biden on Facebook regarding segregationists? I did not see that. I did not see that. I would have to see what she said because I have not seen it. After what I'm going to tell you today, I don't really know how you could be defending Joe Biden on segregationists, considering. We'll get to Joe Biden a little bit later, but no, I didn't see Tulsi do that. And by the way, I'm going to be pushing this very, very hard for the rest of the live stream. We are now. Never mind. Oh my God, the audience comes through once again. We have just hit $60,000 in our GoFundMe. Carol Edwards, you are the best of the best. Carol Edwards puts us over the top to $60,000. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Ashley, $20. Thank you, Anonymous, $5. Noel, $5. Mark Ortiz, $19. Somi Otam, $9. Daniel, $25. Especially Carol Edwards, $151. Thank you. We wanted to get to $60,000 before Sunday, so we have achieved that, but we can't stop now. We cannot stop now because we are going to go down. Let's put it this way. I'm leaning towards us going down to cover the debate, even though we don't have credentials to do so. I'm leaning on doing that because I think, although it's ridiculous that we have been denied credentials, and if you don't know what credentials means, it would allow us to, before and after the debate, go up to people on the Biden campaign, people on Kamala Harris's campaign, people on Mayor Pete's campaign, people on Elizabeth Warren's campaign, obviously people on Bernie's campaign, Tulsi's campaign, and interview them and respectfully challenge some folks that need to be challenged. I'm talking to you, Joe Biden and his people. But unfortunately, NBC has denied us credentials. We were given a reason of space constraints. I think that reason is total BS. I covered 5 or 6 debates in 2016, and I can tell you they had enough space, and I'm pretty sure that they have enough space for Ty and I. So, there's realities here. We're an independent media network, so we don't have money coming out of our, behinds. We're growing. We're now at 478 status quo members. Obviously, we just hit $60,000 on our GoFundMe, so thank you to the 1,286 of you that have gotten us there. Now we're $25,000 away from our goal, $25,000 away from that $85,000 goal, so we got to just keep on marching. I know we'll get there, so thank you to everybody. We mean it. Thank you. So the question is, do we spend $2,000 to go down to Miami? I would be bringing my aviators. Well, we don't have access to inside the debate, and we don't have access to try and challenge anyone. It's suppression. It's censorship. They're clearly don't want me anywhere near Joe Biden's campaign or Kamala Harris's campaign. I don't mean this in a full of myself way, but I'm pretty sure they know my work and saw an interview I did in 2016 with Donna Brazil, and I don't think they want adversarial or even real journalists anywhere near their preferred candidates. So that's what I think is really going on. The DNC has said to me via email that they will reach out to NBC and ask if they could make an exception. I don't really know if that's going to happen. I'm not holding my breath. As far as can you go undercover? They got more security there than the airport at these things. So no. I could go undercover, but if you want to set up a separate GoFundMe for a jail fund, because we'd probably be thrown in jail if we went undercover. So, unfortunately, we're still working on seeing if they'll give us credentials. But to tell you the truth, we got traveler's protection, and Jen and I are talking about whether we want to go. Obviously, we would go and interview voters outside. We would try our best to line up interviews with people on Bernie and Tulsi's campaign outside, but it's a lot to go somewhere and spend $2,000 if you're not going to have full access. So we're debating it. If we keep raising money in the GoFundMe in the next 48 hours, which includes today and the Sunday live stream, we would probably go. As long as we could cover the costs of the trip, which are about $1,500 to $2,000. I mean, the flight for Thai was very expensive. My flight wasn't cheap. Then you have an Airbnb, you have a rent-a-car, food, these things add up. So if you can, keep contributing. This is also a super chat. We'll tell you our decision probably on Sunday. We'll decide if we're still going on Sunday. I would love to say we're going to crash the debate, but I'm just being honest. There's very, very little chance that we'd actually be able to sneak into the debate. It's very high security, very high security. These things. I mean, if you were at the DNC or you were at any of these debates, it's extremely. I mean, even if you have credentials, it's a process just to get in with your credentials. Much less if you don't. Thank you, Schultze. $10 in the super chat. Jen, great D. Trump story about the horrible piece of junk he truly is. He's so disgusting. Yes, I'm going to get to that as well. Thank you for the super chat. So we're just being honest with you. We got travelers protection in the event that they denied us credentials. There's still a way to apply pressure to NBC. Here is the email. So many of you have already emailed. If you could keep on emailing that email and express your displeasure. Express your displeasure that a truly progressive independent outlet is being blocked from covering this. It's not like we need a lot of space. And these are the numbers. These are the numbers you could call as well at NBC. And I'll update you on Sunday whether we're going or whether we're not. Jen and I have to discuss it. So, with that said, I need you to smash that like button. I need you to smash that like button into smithereens. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. And we want people to see the live stream, of course. If you are watching on your phone, just for a second, X out of the live chat. You'll see the thumbs up. Smash that thumbs up button. The more people that press that thumbs up button, the more people will see the live stream. I just told you we are now at 478 members. This is how we grow. Statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. $5 to $10 a month is what is going to fund us in the long term to hit the road and cover the stories you want us to cover. You could become a status slayer at $5, a coup de champion at $10, a coup de commanda at $20, or join the coup de cavalry for $179 annually. We just got a new annual member today, so thank you, and welcome to the Media Revolution to that annual member. Barbara Smalley is a new Status Coup member. So, and also follow us at Status Coup. I'm at Jordan Chariton. Subscribe to our podcast. That's bit.ly/Status Coup podcast. And you can join our email list. That's at statuscoup.com. When you join the email list, when you go to the website, you'll see a little box to join the email list. So, and thank you to Kelly Elaine getting us past 60,000 in the GoFundMe. $30 from Kelly Elaine, who has donated so many times. I owe you flowers. $60,000, $30. Can we get to $61,000 today? Is that possible? I got news for you. If we can get to $61,000, Jen, I think we're in agreement. If we can get to $61,000 by Sunday, we're going to go to that. We're going down to Miami because that would at least cover the trip to Miami. And who knows? Maybe we'll cause some trouble and get in. And if not, we'll cause trouble anyway. So let's get to 61,000 by Sunday. I think we could do it. So obviously the war drums are pounding. The war drums are pounding. And Donald Trump went on Meet the Press and basically gave a story that I think is hard to believe about why he ultimately, 10 minutes before launching an attack on Iran, decided not to.
Order airstrikes on Iran, but then 10 minutes before those strikes would take place to decide to abort the mission.
They came and they said, "Sir, we're ready to go. We'd like a decision." I said, "I want to know something before you go. How many people will be killed? In this case, Iranians." Mm-hmm. I said, "How many people are going to be killed?" "Sir, I'd like to get back to you on that." Great people, these generals. They said, came back, said, "Sir, approximately 150. And I thought about it for a second. I said, you know what? They shot down an unmanned drone, plane, whatever you want to call it. And here we are sitting with 150 dead people. That would have taken place probably within a half an hour after I said go ahead.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. I didn't think it was proportionate.
That's the first time we see the president. That tracks pretty much what he tweeted this morning. But to see him talking about it, his facial expressions, his language. Plus, there are still parts of this that don't quite.
So I'm happy that decision was made. I don't believe him for a second. I don't believe that for a second. Like, it's not like, you find out 10 minutes before a strike how many people are going to die. That's like presented to you right off the top. So I have a hard time believing the president that he just had an epiphany and cares about human life 10 minutes before they're going to, strike Iran. But regardless of what is true and what is not, it doesn't matter. I'm happy that they didn't. But that doesn't mean the war drums are not being pounded. I mean, to my left right now is Barbara Starr, the Pentagon reporter for CNN, who literally is a human stenographer. Literally, she just repeats what people at the Pentagon tell her as journalism in fact. That is what Barbara Starr and the rest of the corporate media military-industrial complex do. Thank you, Jetty Mullet. $5 in the super chat. Jordan, you're a top gun of an independent journalism. All the mainstream media does is manufacture consent for war. Well, you are going to hear a lot about that because I'm about to air part of my interview with Mike Gravel, who has a lot to say about manufacturing consent for war. I'm going to air part of the interview now, tease you to watch the whole thing on Sunday. We spoke for about 45 minutes. We got into Iran. He called Joe Biden an absolute disaster. Even did a little 9/11 truther stuff at the end. So Mike Gravel, love him, love him, love him. So Jordan, you look like CIA, LOL, or FBI. Hey, as long as you're looking. I was like, I'm 32 years old, and I wanted to know if I could pull off aviators, so I got them. Somebody told me I can. I think I can, but I hope I don't look like Joe Biden. I mean, that would be bad. That would be bad. So what's amazing to me about this, I think Trump is an expert in the media. This man knows how to play the media. And if you notice, he's trying very hard to kind of now be a little bit more mainstream. He just did an interview on Telemundo. Now he's going on Meet the Press. I think Donald Trump is trying to go beyond his base. So the last 2.5 years of his presidency have been all about the base. All about the base. Go on Fox News, many, many times, Fox Business, and talk to his base. But now he's trying to reach out to those general election and more independent voters to make it seem like he's not a craving lunatic. And the thing is, Donald Trump, when he's reaching out to them, is all of a sudden cares about the Iranian death toll. So I think a lot of this is for show, where Donald Trump eventually will cave into the military-industrial complex, probably attack Iran, possibly start a war if his poll numbers are low enough. But Donald Trump is right now trying to make it seem like, I just thought it was disproportionate. I'm very worried about how many Iranians we kill. No, he's not. He ain't worried one bit. But before I get to this interview, or part of the interview with Mike Gravel, I just want to make a point, which I found shocking. A longtime columnist has come out and described and accused Donald Trump in the 1990s of assaulting her, sexually assaulting her. And Jen did a video as soon as this news came down, so that video's up right here on the channel. Donald Trump, of course, like the 15 to 16 other women that have accused him of sexual harassment or assault, he basically said she's making it up. But this came out earlier, and literally, I have not seen it once on CNN or MSNBC. So, of course, I'm inclined to believe the woman. We want to know what happened. We want to hear all sides before we declare people guilty. But this is a trend. I mean, this isn't the first woman to come out saying that Donald Trump groped them, and in this case, forcibly penetrated her. This is what she is accusing him of. I have not, and Jen, you could tell me in the super chat, I have not seen MSNBC cover this. I have not seen CNN cover this. It was trending on Twitter. Her name, the columnist's name, is E. Jean Carroll, who is accusing Donald Trump of raping her in the 1990s. It's a big New York Magazine profile. Here is the cover of it if you are just coming to this late. Says sensitive material, and that's the cover. This is what I was wearing 23 years ago when Donald Trump, I don't know what, hold on. Donald Trump assaulted me in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room 23 years ago, but he's not alone on the list of awful men in my life. So Donald Trump has come out and denied this, which is not a shocker. Trump said he never met Carol and accused her of making up the allegations to sell books, according to a statement distributed through the White House. And we've heard this by Trump before, minimizing women who accuse him of either assault or harassment. Quote, shame on those who make up false claims of assault to try to get publicity for themselves or sell a book or carry out a political agenda, just like Julie Swetnick, who falsely accused Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Trump said in a statement referring to his nominee to the Supreme Court, it's just as bad for people to believe it, particularly when there is zero evidence. So you would think that the President of the United States, a lot of the accusations against him were made when he was a candidate. He's president now. To think that the President of the United States is being accused of rape and it's not being covered on CNN and it's not being covered on MSNBC. And Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen it on either. This is a news story. You could say, I want to see the evidence. I want to hear her account. I'm not ready to declare him guilty. But it's a news story and it's not being covered. You have to wonder why they are not covering it. Is it because they are afraid to lose access to the president? Are they afraid that he will come down on the media? Are they afraid that it will take away from the Iran warmongering that is going on? Because in my book, can you imagine if Barack Obama was accused of sexual assault? It would be on the news immediately. Same thing for George W. Bush. Same thing for Bill Clinton. So I have no idea why this is not on the news. Obviously, I believe we would like to see evidence, but there is a trend with this president of assault, harassment, and basically tossing it away as if, oh, I didn't meet the person, or oh, they're just trying to get publicity, and yada, yada, yada. So we'll monitor it, but as of now, I haven't seen them cover it, and that's a damn shame. So, moving on. The reason I'm late today is I interviewed Mike Gravel. The full interview will be live on Sunday during our live marathon live stream. I'm going to air some of it. Remember, we come live on Sundays to raise money for Status Quo. So if you like anything about this interview, if you'd like to see us in the field, if you'd like to help us get to Miami, I think if we get to 61,000 by Sunday, we're definitely going to the debate. Even though they denied our credentials, we'll go anyway, and we will give the microphone back to the people. Without further ado, here's a little bit of my interview with Mike Gravel on the insane Iran warmongering. Hey there, joined by former Alaska Senator Mike Gravel. And I thought of you first because you are so wise and profound on this never-ending military-industrial complex. So it seems like we've gone from 0 to 60 in a matter of days with the warmongering towards Iran. The president today announced that there was going to be a strike, but then he suddenly had a heart. What is your initial thoughts? Do you buy the explanation by President Trump?
No, not at all. Actually, this is John Bolton and Pompeo that have boxed him into a position where the likelihood of war is 80%. And so all of a sudden, he realizes that, and of course he doesn't have great capacity in this entire area, but he realizes that war is imminent, and so what he does is he downplays the shooting down of the drone, and of course we all are suspect of the intelligence that tells us, or the military that tells us that that they were in international waters. A drone, in order to accomplish its mission of surveillance, obviously has to be over the enemy's territory. So it doesn't make any sense to make the argument, oh no, we were not spying on them. What the hell was it doing in the air to begin with? And so the tragedy is that Trump is not aware of really what's going on. He reacts to it, and in this case, his reaction was good. But what's wrong is that he's permitted this whole escalation to take place, and has caused it by withdrawing from the treaty obligations with Iran and the other countries that were involved, and then unilaterally imposing sanctions on them, even though Iran was performing to the letter of the law. It's a sick situation. That's all I can think of. And of course, it's sustained by the military, who are more than happy to move the fleet into position, more than happy to get the Air Force into position. And because what that means for them is if there's a war, they will expend munitions, and that will have to be replenished by the military-industrial complex. So if you want to see the real culprits in this undertaking, just follow the money. Who's going to profit from any conflict with Iran? And of course, Iran is not Iraq. Iran, anything we do with them is going to be a very, very serious price, both paid for by the people of Iran and paid for by the people of the United States. So I'm not just talking in military engagement. I'm talking interests that are far beyond that.
Now, when you say follow the money, I mean, obviously the media loves war. I mean, they get big ratings, and now
it's free. It's free. It's cheap.
Right.
It's cheap programming is what they like.
And I'm watching this, and it's, I mean, this isn't new, but you have CNN reporters just saying, says the Pentagon. It's essentially just, there's no reporting. It's just passing public relations off for what John Bolton and Mike Pompeo are saying. Like you said, there's no evidence that have been provided that this drone was shot down in international waters. It's likely it could have been just off of Iran's sovereign territory, and you'd expect a country to shoot down a drone that they don't know what it is.
But it was over their territory. That what's the purpose of the drone is to go do some spying without putting anybody at risk on the American side. Well, they called their bluff. Same thing. Where's the evidence that all this tanker stuff that's been going on has been perpetrated by Iran? It could just as well be perpetrated by Saudi Arabia in order to kick up the price of oil.
Right.
And so here again, immediately something happens, you get an American official, Pompeo, the president, or Bolton saying, "Oh, this was Iran." They haven't. The sun hasn't even set on the altercation when they already conclude that this was Iran, and so this is part of the ginning up of the climate for war, which is not unlike what happened in ginning up the climate for the Iraqi invasion, which went on for a year before the invasion took place.
Mm-hmm. And could you kind of expand? You had mentioned that if we were to have a war with Iran, it would be far more, I don't want to say far more consequential, but larger impact than even Iraq.
Oh, very much so. First off, we couldn't put boots on the ground as we did in Iraq. That just is not a possibility. The balance of the Arab community would not tolerate that. But without the boots on the ground, we're talking about bombing. Obviously that's why we moved the bombers into position. We're talking about aircraft carriers launching their fighter jets. Well, I'll tell you, what would be the reaction if the Iranians were able to sink one of the aircraft carriers? And that's entirely possible. They have some cruise missiles that have that capacity, and there's new weaponry out there where it travels at several times the speed of sound. Well, if that weaponry is out there, it will be used against us. We've already manufactured it, of course, and produced it, but it'd be available to others. One of the things that was really evident in the Saddam Hussein invasion in the 8-year war with Iran, that Saddam Hussein eventually lost, but he's the one that instigated it at the behest of the United States. And so what Iran demonstrated is that they're prepared to take all kinds of pain for the leadership and the people to engage in protecting themselves, the pride of dignity. And so what you would see would be an all-out release on Israel, which is behind it all, and also the United States, where its forces are. So here again, you'd have a situation where the Iranians would be killing Americans. Oh, and that's so terrible. Of course, the Americans went over there to be killed. And that's the tragedy of our military leadership that just follows along with the crazies, because it satisfies the economic interest of the manufacturers of weapons of destruction. We are the ones that put more weaponry into the global arms bazaar than anybody else. And they're not even close to what we do in this regard. So if there's a warfare nation, a warmongering nation, I have to say with great shame that it's the United States of America. And that need not be the case, because pulling out of the treaty, that's one thing. But then turn around and establishing sanctions on Iran, which was obeying the treaty. I mean, where does that come from? That's outright insanity. And of course, the entire use of sanctions is illegal in international law. And yet we turn around like we're doing in Venezuela. It's costing the lives of thousands and thousands of children and women and civilians. Same thing in what's going on in Iran. That's the reason why the military response of Iran is what we've created. We've strengthened the hand of the crazies over there, and they'll retaliate. If we attack, it will be a terrible, terrible disaster for the Middle East, for the United States, and for the world.
And you mentioned Israel. Obviously, Netanyahu has been hollering about Iran for decades. What do you think Israel's role in this? Do you think they're talking to Bolton and Pompeo and kind of pulling some strings?
No question about it. No question about it. This whole scenario has been Netanyahu's dream, and that is to, and of course, the hardliners have made the statement that they want to destroy Israel. There's no effort. There's no effort for them to do that. It's just one of these crazy statements that many times are made by irrational leaders. But I'll tell you, if the United States attacks Iran, the retaliation will be against Israel. That's who started it. That's who's going to pay the price. And Israel has already done some intelligence work against Iran. They assassinated 4 of their chemical engineers, nuclear engineers. This was done by Israel, by Mossad. When you have a country that feels that it can do anything it wants in the world under the rubric that this is our defense mechanism. Nobody's attacked Israel in a long time. And of course, if anybody were to attack, then of course they would face the full fury of the United States, since they determine our foreign policy in this regard. So if there's a war that we trigger, the response will be against Israel and response in unique ways against the American military.
And do you think that response against Israel would be from Iran or the surrounding countries supporting Iran?
Well, from Iran. Iran has the nuclear, not the nuclear, but the missile capability to really wage conventional weaponry, to send conventional weaponry to Israel. Now, what this could trigger with the crazies in Israel, and they get their share of them, would be a nuclear response. Mm-hmm. A nuclear response against Iran could well trigger a nuclear response in response by other countries against Israel and the United States. This whole insanity of the warmongering fools could well kill us all.
And I'd like to ask you, Joe Biden this week has been, there's no other way to say it, kissing the behinds of Wall Street fat cats. You always mention the military-industrial complex via Wall Street. So what would be the Wall Street?
That is your sneak peek at my extensive interview with Mike Gravel. We will be airing the full interview this coming Sunday, noon Eastern Time, on the Marathon live stream. We will have Mike Gravel. We will also have independent journalist Ben Norton in the house. He's going to be sitting right next to me here in New York. And we're going to do a deep dive on who is really pulling the strings here to go to war with Iran, what's at stake, and the corporate media's role in all of this. So we will air the full interview with Senator Gravel, as well as have Ben Norton in the flesh. You could get the party started right now. Trust me, folks. I do like the beach during the summer, but I'm going to be here with you on Sundays. So we're doing this for you. So GoFundMe, and also, we are very fine house. We are very actively trying to grow our membership. So if you're not a Status Coup member, please check it out. statuscoup.com/join. You will get great bonus content. I'm actually going to do a video just for members right after this live stream and post it, giving you a little update on the Flushing Flint documentary and some progress being made in that avenue, trying to get that picked up. A lot of things going on behind the scenes trying to build Status Coup up. So if you're a member, go check it out later tonight. You'll see that video that I'm going to do just for members. If you're not a member, is real journalism in the field worth it to you? Is real aggressive journalism worth it to you? If it's worth it to you, then I think it's worth $5 to $10 a month or $179 annually. Obviously, if you don't have that kind of extra cash lying around, that's okay. We don't want to make your situation worse. But if you do have $5 to $10 a month, $20 a month, or $179 annually, let us know by joining the media revolution and becoming a Status Coup member. Because I got to tell you guys, there's a coming shipwreck. There's an iceberg right ahead. And as of now, there is no independent media out on that campaign trail. There is no independent media out on that campaign trail to actually challenge Joe Biden and his campaign and his voters. There is no independent media out there on that campaign trail to challenge Kamala Harris and her campaign officials and her voters. There is no independent media out on the campaign trail to cover and challenge America's new mayor. That's what the media wants us to think. Pete Buttigieg. We want to get out there. We're ready to get out there, but we just need to grow. Awesome graphic by Colin Tooley. That would be Joe Biden. That would be Joe Scarborough. That would be Don Lemon, Mrs. Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski. That would be Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Tom Perez, driving the Titanic right into that iceberg. Right into that iceberg. So, speaking of Joe Biden, I got to tell you, I'm so busy that it's hard. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I'd love to tell you about, but I can't tell you about it all. So, I kind of missed this, but, Joe Biden this week is saying that he wasn't talking about, having a relationship with the segregationist Senator Easton, that he was referencing, we just got to bring it back to the civil times. James Eastland, excuse me. We just got to bring it back to the civil times when, senators like me, Democrats, could work with even people we hate, like segregationist James Eastland. And of course, the media, as I showed you yesterday, has been just eating this up and defending Joe Biden. Oh, are they defending Joe Biden over at NBC? Which makes sense, because NBC, which denied status quo credentials to cover the debate, wonder why, NBC is owned by Comcast. And Joe Biden's first fundraiser was with a Comcast lobbyist. Go figure, right? So Joe Biden is pretty well shielded by those in the corporate media, making it out, oh, he wasn't talking about actually having a relationship with segregationists. He wasn't talking about actually, liking what, feeling like you should even communicate or deal with the segregationists. He was just saying, we got to be civil. We got to be civil, even with people we hate. Well, new evidence suggests Joe Biden was a little bit more than just civil with segregationist senators. Joe Biden actually was trying to get pretty racist legislation passed with the help of segregationists. This is a letter that Joe Biden wrote to the Honorable James O. Eastland, a segregationist senator, one of the senators that Joe Biden referenced at his private fundraiser that he was with Wall Street bankers, hedge funders, finance people, telling them how wonderful they are this week in New York City. This is a letter that he wrote in 1977 to Chairman Eastland. I want you to know that I very much appreciate your help during this week's committee meeting in attempting to bring my anti-busing legislation to a vote. I am hopeful that the bill can be voted on at the next meeting, and with your assistance, I am confident there is sufficient support for approval by the committee. Again, many thanks for your help. And if you're having trouble reading that, here is it written out. Ty made this graphic. I want you to know that I very much appreciate your help during this week's committee meeting in attempting to bring my anti-busing legislation to a vote. That's Joe Biden in a letter to segregationist Senator James O. Eastland in 1977. So, I just saw Tulsi Gabbard's tweet about this. I happen to like Tulsi Gabbard a lot. I'm a benefit of the doubt. Maybe she has not seen this letter that Joe Biden wrote to Senator James Eastland in 1977. Basically, Joe Biden was a young senator. James Eastland was an older senator. And Joe Biden was basically trying to get the committee chairman to help him get his anti-busing legislation voted on. Now, what was that about that Joe Biden said, I have a long record of civil rights and there's not a racist bone in my body? I'm sorry. Joe Biden this week made it out to be that he was only talking about working with those even we hate what they stand for to pass legislation that is good for the people. Well, I don't think I'm pretty sure writing a letter to a segregationist senator, and, for those of you in the cheap seats who don't know what that means, a segregationist senator means black people are inferior. I'm pretty sure writing a letter saying, thank you so much, Mr. Segregationist Senator, for helping to bring my anti-busing legislation to a vote, I'm pretty sure this would probably be in the category of actually working with a segregationist to segregate. Am I reading too much into that? I'm not being sarcastic. Please tell me in the super chat. Am I missing something here? Because the corporate media, you got Joe Scarborough yesterday bending over backwards for his buddy Joe Biden. You had MSNBC anchor Stephanie Rule, who's she's terrible. She used to work for CNBC or Bloomberg. She's a Wall Street lover, loves Michael Bloomberg, This is literally Joe Biden in the 1970s working with the segregationist senator not to pass nutritional food programs for children, not to pass, legislation that gives old people more heating in the winter, not to pass legislation that gives single mothers more resources, to pass legislation that would prevent black students from being bused in to white schools. And we are getting segments on cable news and in the New York Times saying, oh, that's not what Joe Biden meant. I mean, if I'm being fair, this revelation came out from the Washington Post, so I have to give them credit. At least the Washington Post has this. They found the letters. The recipient of Biden's entreaty was Senator James O. Eastland, at the time a well-known segregationist who had called blacks an inferior race and once vowed to prevent blacks and whites from eating together in Washington. The exchange, revealed in a series of letters, offers a new glimpse into an old relationship that erupted this week as a major controversy for Biden's presidential campaign. But the letters show a different type of relationship, one in which they were aligned on a legislative issue. Biden said at the time that he did not think that busing was the best way to integrate schools in Delaware, and that systemic racism should be dealt with by investing in schools and improving housing policies. Oh, so Joe Biden felt that the best way to help with systemic racism was separate but equal? Is that what Joe Biden meant? Because that's what it sounds like to me. We don't think actual integration is the way to go. We think investment in the separate schools for black people is the way to go. And how do I know that he's talking about separate but equal? I give you his eulogy for known racist Strom Thurmond.
This is a man who in 1947, the New York Times ran a lead editorial saying Strom Thurmond, Hope of the South, and talked about how he had set up reading programs, get better books for separate but equal schools. This is a man who was opposed to the poll tax. This is a man who I watched vote for the extension of the Voting Rights Act. This is a man who I watched vote for the Martin Luther King holiday. And it's very easy to say today, Thurmond, Hope of the South, and talked about how he had set up reading programs, get better books for separate but equal schools. This is a man who was opposed to the poll tax. This is a man who I watched vote for the extension of the Voting Rights Act. This is a man.
So, I'm sorry. Let me get this straight. And as a reminder, folks, we just passed $60,000, trying to raise more money. So if you got a couple bucks before you hit the weekend, drop it in the GoFundMe. We're going to try to hit $61,000. We're going to try to hit $61,000 by Sunday. If we hit that $61,000, we're going to Miami. If we don't, I'm not sure if we're going. If you didn't know, if you're coming to this late, we got denied credentials to go actually cover the debate inside the debate hall. The denied credentials mean I'm not going to be able to actually get inside the debate hall unless I do some kung fu, panda move and sneak my way in, which is a lot harder than you think with that level of security. So Jen and I are discussing, is it worth it to go down? Because if we can't get in, I wanted to get up and challenge campaign officials, maybe have another, Donna Brazile-esque moment, which is called journalism. It shouldn't be so viral, but because no one does it, by default, if you challenge anyone today as a journalist, it goes viral because it's so rare. But it's an expensive trip. It's going to cost us about $2,000 just for the trip. And since we can't get in, we're kind of like, do we want to go down or spend the money maybe to go cover Bernie on the road or something like that? So if we could cover the trip, which getting to 61,000, we definitely would be able to cover it. We're going to go down, even though we didn't get credentials to go inside, and we'll interview voters outside and all that. So let me get this straight. All the media, most of the media, has been pushing that, Joe Biden, his little thing about segregationists this week, he was only talking about, working with people, anyone, even those we disdain, we got to work with them. Even though we disdain, we got to work with them. Well, I just showed you. He wasn't talking about, he didn't just work with this person on stuff that would actually help people. Yeah, sometimes you do work with people that you don't like or have poor values to get things done that actually helps people. He worked with this man to prevent black people from being bussed into white schools. This is racist. Capital R, racism, and working with a racist. And I'm sorry, I like Tulsi Gabbard. I'd like to give her the benefit of the doubt that she has not seen this letter, but I really don't know what she's talking about in this tweet. This is Tulsi Gabbard. Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden did not celebrate or coddle segregationists. His critics have unfairly misrepresented his important message to score cheap political points. I agree with James Clyburn and Joe Biden. In order for Congress and the president to get things done for the American people, there needs to be civility in Washington and in the country. The ability to work with those who we disagree, even those who hold some views which we abhor. In order for Congress to work for the American people, we need to find common ground with each other. That is not possible without civility. We don't need another president who is going to continue to divide our country. We need a president who will unite it. United we stand, divided we fall. Again, I would like to give Tulsi Gabbard the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to reach out to her campaign after this and ask if they have seen the letter I just showed you. I would hope she has not. I really would hope she has not, because I don't really know how you could defend Joe Biden after seeing that he wasn't like just working with someone he abhors. He was in agreement with this racist segregationist, at least on busing, which was racist. So I don't know how you slice it a different way, Congresswoman Gabbard. Again, maybe she hasn't seen it. I just saw this letter earlier today. I didn't know about it, so maybe she doesn't. But I think she's wrong. I think she's wrong. So let's hope she hasn't seen it. Because, and by the way, this, I got to be honest with you, and I'm going to be demonetized, so please let me know in the hit the swear jar. Give me a fucking break already. Enough with this civility bullshit, okay? You want civility? Oh, let's go back to the good old days where Democrats that blow Wall Street and Republicans that blow Wall Street could get in a room and break bread together and talk it out and bring you, bipartisan legislation like the bankruptcy bill, like the Patriot Act, like deregulating Wall Street, like repealing Glass-Steagall, like the crime bill, like welfare reform, like extending the Bush tax cuts, like Iraq war. If only we could just be more civil so we can get more stuff done for the American people. Give me a fucking break. The problem isn't civility, folks. The problem is when Democrats and Republicans actually work together, terrible shit gets done. Not for the American people, but for their donors. I like Bernie Sanders' idea, because Bernie Sanders said in 2016, no. I'm not going to become president and then go try and, compromise with Mitch McConnell. I'm going to go to Mitch McConnell and I'm going to say, hey, Mitch, look outside the window. We got thousands of people here telling you what they want and what they need. And if you don't give it to them, we're going to throw you out of office. The time for civility. This is what wealthy, privileged people say. Oh, we just need civility. And I'm not attacking Tulsi Gabbard. I like a lot of what she stands for. I think she's wrong on this. I hope she hasn't seen that letter, because it doesn't make sense if she has. But this is what privileged, out of touch idiots think. Do you think the people struggling out in Ohio and Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and all over that voted for Donald Trump? Yeah, sure, a lot of that was racism, but a majority of it was economic despair and frustration. And they got conned by a con man in Donald Trump. I was there. I saw it. He had them at NAFTA. That's why Donald Trump won, because he talked about repealing NAFTA, said, I'm going to reopen your plants. I'm going to bring your jobs back. And if you live in those states, that's a really appealing message. And the other person was saying, stronger together, whatever that means. Thank you, Ease, $1 in the super chat. I mean, it's so preposterous. The problem isn't lack of civility. The problem is our government has been bought off by corporate America. Our government is bought off by lobbyists. Our government is an auction. Civility. Are you kidding me? So, if I get into that debate, and again, if you missed it, here's the email in the super chat. Please keep emailing every day. Keep emailing that email, including Saturday and Sunday, telling them why is status quo being denied. It's two people, Jordan and Ty. They don't take up a lot of space. They're a progressive independent media company that broke a major story in Flint last year that I just had a call with today that is under consideration to be picked up by a TV network, our documentary. We are a more legitimate news organization than most of them that they're giving credentials to. So I'd like to know why we are being denied credentials. I think I know the answer already, but I'd like to hear it from them. Because if they don't tell us, all I could think is they're trying to suppress and block independent media. And more importantly, they are trying to shield Joe Biden's campaign, Kamala Harris's campaign, Mayor Pete's campaign, Cory Booker's campaign. Who else? I got some questions for Elizabeth Warren's campaign. I don't think she's terrible. I don't think she's as bad as Joe Biden. I think some of you are crazy that think that. I don't mean this at all to be full of myself, but I'm pretty sure the DNC knows who I am. The interview with Donna Brazile on YouTube got 500,000, 500,000 views in 2016. On Facebook, over 1 million views. Pretty sure they know who I am. And Donna Brazile hates me. I can tell you that. So, I mean, this is clearly, somebody the other day, a friend of mine said, I think you're being too strong calling Joe Biden racist. I don't think I'm being strong at all. To me, the media focuses a lot only on racist rhetoric. But there's also racist policy. So when you look at Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia, everybody was focused on his blackface yearbook picture, which is horrible. It's disgusting. It's a racist thing. The media wasn't focused on the fact Ralph Northam was allowing a massive pipeline, a fracked gas pipeline, and its massive compressor station, which was going to emit methane and a lot of other things, to be dumped on a historically black community called Union Hill in Virginia. He was going to be dumping a compressor station and allowing a compressor station to be built on top of the graveyard of slaves. A historically black community. This was written up in Rolling Stone. Jen and I were down there about a year ago. That's racism. It doesn't only have to be blackface. It doesn't only have to be using racial terms. Policy is also racism. and we have systemic racism in this country. So that's kind of baked into the cake, and nobody thinks like, oh, Joe Biden wrote this guy a letter basically saying, thank you so much for helping me to get my anti-busing legislation a vote. Well, what is anti-busing? That's basically saying I am against school integration. I am against black students being bused into white schools. I don't give a damn that Joe Biden said, oh, I think that's not the way to integrate. The way to integrate is separate but equal. So let's keep them separate, which means black people are inferior and that we can't have them with us white folk. It's disgusting. Absolutely abhorrent. TB, Jordan hasn't researched the issue. What issue are you talking about? What issue are you talking that I haven't researched? I try to research a lot. TB. So we'll have more. I'm sure, Joe Biden can't help it. I'm sure by Sunday there will be some more icebergs ahead for Joe Biden. Or, Joe Biden alternates. He alternates between, the Titanic into the iceberg and the train going off the rails. Thank you, Colin Tooley, for both of these clips. But I got news for you. Screenshot this cool graphic, because if and when Joe Biden becomes a nominee, he's that iceberg. I've called it. Iceberg right ahead. Trump reelected. I think Joe Biden would lose worse, actually, than Hillary Clinton. Isaac Moulter. Jordan, have you heard of Vanity Affair smearing Bernie Sanders? I have. It was absurd. I think Bernie Sanders literally said on MSNBC about Elizabeth Warren rising in the polls that, I also think that part of it is a lot of people want to see a woman president, which I understand. A lot of people also want to see someone younger, which I understand. There's a lot of different reasons. He also said Elizabeth Warren was running a really good campaign. So Vanity Fair writes an article that Bernie Sanders on Elizabeth Warren's rise, I'm paraphrasing, but Elizabeth Warren's surge is because she has ovaries. That is beyond slander. He didn't say that. First of all, do you know how many people just read a headline and might actually think Bernie Sanders literally said the words, it's because she has ovaries? Half of America only reads headlines. He said, some people like her because they want a woman president. Some people like her because they think I'm too old. I understand. She's also running a good campaign. Why is that controversial? It's the truth. A lot of people were voting for Hillary Clinton because she was a woman. A lot of people voted for Barack Obama because he was black. This is not breaking news. Jordan, why not put up a banner that periodically flashes or runs across the screen that informs people to donate or become a patron and how to do that? Just a thought. Very, very smart, Schultze. We actually have one of those that goes in the bottom of the screen. Ty just redid it. We have it on our videos that we cut up shorter, but I got to make sure we put it for the live stream too. So thank you for reminding me that. We do have like a bottom of the screen crawl that tells you to go to statuscoup.com/join to become a member, tells you to go GoFundMe and all those good things. So thank you for the reminder. And right now we're at 478 members. We want to get that to 500 by the end of June. So we have some work to do. We got to get 22 more of you to sign up. You could sign up for as low as $5 to $10 a month. I think it's worth it. Here is our latest, the latest interview Marcus Ely is doing in the field. One of our new reporters in the field that no one else is doing. Marcus had a great interview with one thriving member of the booming economy. I say that with a lot of sarcasm. A worker for Wendy's that makes $8.25 and has had to work in 103-degree temperatures in the back of Wendy's in Nevada. Please, if you want more reporting like this, if you want us to be able to keep Marcus, because right now we can't afford him past July, please become a member today.
Marcus Ely here for Status Coup. I am here with Darla Garcia. last week we were at the rally, the Fight for 15 rally that Kamala Harris showed up to. And she showed up to that rally, and there was a lot of hoopla. But this young woman stole the show because at a Fight for 15 rally where McDonald's workers were striking, you shut down a Wendy's and showed up in solidarity with them. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about why you shut the Wendy's down and what you guys were striking for?
Well, at my Wendy's, we get paid $8.25 an hour, which is the state minimum wage, and it's also the maximum wage there. They don't give raises to their employees after years and years. Doesn't matter, you still make $8.25, and the working conditions are below substandard. So that's why we decided to join the McDonald's workers in the strike and support them, and they support us, and we did shut down the store.
Okay. Now, I remember you telling me in the first interview we did before we had to reshoot this that you guys were working without AC for 2 summers?
Yeah, last summer, the air conditioning was broken, and then the beginning of this summer, about 2 days before the strike, the Wednesday before the strike, they came in and fixed it. But before that, it was 103 degrees when they took the little temperature thing. And the summer before that was even hotter.
Yeah, last summer was ridiculously hot. So do you remember like some of the temperatures you had to work in while you were there?
We never checked the temperature. He didn't have his little gun thing that checked the temperature. But I know my coworkers would have wet towels. They would put ice in towels and put it around their necks because it was so hot in the kitchen that it was unbearable.
For $8.25 an hour.
$8.25 an hour.
Yeah. That's just ridiculous. Nobody should have to deal with that. Can you talk a little bit about because you're working $8.25 an hour, you go to Wendy's, and then you come home and you got to support a family. Right. Can you talk a little bit about like what the struggle of that is like, for folks that don't understand?
Yeah, every day's a challenge. It's a struggle to put food on the table. It's a struggle to pay for car insurance, to pay bills, rent. You have to decide between food and utilities sometimes, and that's tough when you have children because you can't give them everything that you want to be able to give them as a parent. And I don't feel like working 40 hours a week and over 40 hours a week that you should have to make a decision between your rent, your utilities, and your food, and taking care of your child.
The kitty
is
scratching the Bernie sign right when I was getting ready to mention, because Kamala Harris was at the Fight for 15 rally as a Bernie supporter, clearly. And you also volunteer with Our Revolution. That's how we'll talk about that in a second as well. But yeah, as a Bernie supporter and somebody that kind of pays attention to where the money comes from, how do you feel about Kamala Harris showing up to the Fight for 15 strike like a week after she was at Wall Street asking the people that literally cause folks to be stuck at minimum wage with their lobbying and with
their money?
Yeah.
Right.
And they cause folks to be stuck in those the wages you're fighting against. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about her showing up to that fight?
I felt 100% like it was just a photo opportunity, a publicity stunt to get her name out there and look like she stands with the workers. Mm-hmm. I marched with her on Friday at the rally, and it just felt like her heart wasn't in it. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and there's her history with Wall Street and all the big corporations and the lobbyists, and she's just trying to win the election, so that's why she stood with us. But Bernie Sanders has been standing with us forever, and it's not just a photo op for him. It's what he does.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I just I can't get past 103 degrees and working for H1. I cannot imagine dealing with that. Have you can you talk about like what the struggle's like dealing with management? Because I remember when we first talked about this, you said the issue wasn't your store manager, the issue wasn't your district manager, it was the corporate offices that you were dealing with that was the impediment to this problem. Can you talk a little bit about the struggle to get this dealt with?
Well, yeah, it's the upper management, starting with the district manager in my store. The general manager, our store manager, is always on our side, but there's not much he can do. They put restrictions on him, and he can't give us raises, and he can't change the working conditions because that all the money comes from his bosses, the corporation, We Nevada LLC, and they just, it's staggering how ineffective their HR department is. You contact them, they don't get back to you. They just don't care. They do not care. I sent a petition around in January, and I had all the employees sign it, everybody, including my general manager, signed it, and he brought down someone from the HR department to come speak with us in the store. I presented her to the petition that took a couple weeks to get together because it was morning, noon, and night crew. That took a lot of work. She just, grabbed it, looked at it. Oh, I'll give it to my boss. Never heard back from her. Called. All of a sudden, she's on vacation. HR.
Would this be what is your district manager's name? Because I believe I tried to reach out with her. What was her name?
George is the district manager,
okay,
and then Gina is also
Gina
another.
is the person I tried to contact.
Yes, Gina. Yeah, they're just uninterested in helping their employees. They're not. Although now there's an investigation into the store because of because of the strike. They're retaliating for sure. They're about to try anyway, but yeah, she has no interest in backing up her employees at all. She's just there to make money for her corporation.
Yeah. It's just so on the one hand, we have folks working in Las Vegas in a record hot summer last year. And then this summer, you guys finally got AC like a week ago.
And it was literally only because I started making noise about it, with everything else.
Yeah. So on the one hand, we have that. And then on the other hand, we have the CEO of Wendy's making $5 million last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure this person's working in a cushy office, air conditioned, everything, and got all types of vacation time. They could probably be done and not show up to work for a year, and Wendy's would be fantastic, would be fine, record profits. Y'all didn't show up at that place for one day. That store made $0. How do you feel about, when you think about it that way and you put that kind of lens on it, how do you feel about this person making $5 million versus you and your colleagues being stuck at $825 with zero chance of a raise at all?
It's disgusting. It's very disheartening, but it also makes me very angry, and anger drives passion, and passion provokes change. So that's what caused the strike, is because my coworkers and I are getting mad. We're getting angry at the situation, and knowing that store, my store, generates $30,000 minimum profit a week. It's a very busy store, and we work to keep that store open, and they will not have our backs for anything. So yeah, if we walk out, it shuts down. And I'm hoping that we can do that again to prove our point again and again and again until they listen.
Yeah. So that's 50, 30, that's, I want to say $300,000 a year your store makes. I'm doing that math in my head, so I could be wrong. I could be way wrong. It might be more than that. It might be $3 million a year, but it's 300,000 is what I think it is.
My coworker Derek and I, we calculated it out, and they make approximately $1.2 million at that store alone. Just that store.
Just y'all store.
Just that.
$1.2 million. And how many people work in that store?
There's 25.
25, and y'all are making much less, much less. And Wendy's honestly could, with that money, Wendy's could easily pay y'all a livable wage and still make their profits.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, at the starvation wages, they're profiting massively, and the prices have still been going up. In the 14 months I've worked there, things have gone up about 50 to 60 cents. And that's without raises. That's without putting any money back into the store. That's without new equipment, without a remodel. Our store is one of the originals. You know, we have nothing that's been upgraded or remodeled or renovated. So they're just making profit and raising prices for no reason. So everybody's argument, oh, if people get $15 an hour, inflation has already been a constant presence in our lives, and our wages have just stayed exactly the same.
I don't know about you, but I am very much understanding why people are out here saying "eat the rich." Like, I completely, when you hear stories like yours, and you hear the stories I've heard out here on the road covering different things, talking to not only Bernie supporters but just people in general that are struggling. You know, the average person can't afford a $400 emergency.
Right.
You know what I mean? $400 hits a family, and it's a wrap. That's it's going to take you at least a year to recover from that in a lot of cases, because you gotta move everything back and pay this and pay that and rob Peter to pay Paul. You know,
exactly.
so like it makes you completely understand why things end up the way that they do and why folks are out here fighting for Bernie Sanders. Like me and another one of the McDonald's employees told y'all in the last video, y'all better take Bernie Sanders, because I'm telling you right now, what's coming after Trump on that side is the super devil, because he already the devil. Yeah. And then what's coming after Bernie on the left is not pretty. Like, people will in the what was a great comment, I'm thinking about it, on the last video, said if you want to get rich quick, invest in Pitchfork futures. Like, that's really what it is.
Yeah,
invest in Pitchfork futures, because it's not going to be pretty what's going to happen in the future if folks don't get a livable wage, because they ain't gonna have nothing else to eat but you rich people.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah, you can't oppress us forever. It's coming. The time is coming. We outnumber them by so much. Yeah. And people work hard, really hard, for so little. Yeah. People are getting really tired of it.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens in this, not only this election, but in the future, because it's not just the presidential election that matters. It's the smaller elections, the municipal elections, local, state level, and not only that, like activists on the ground fighting for X, Y, and Z issue in their local area. Every one of those little battles matters, and those in power are dependent on folks being inactive and not caring and not doing anything. But when you do folks like this, brace for impact.
Yeah. And it makes a big impact. I can tell you that strike made a huge impact on this store. So, and we're still seeing the ripple effect of it right now. But yeah, I would definitely recommend anyone upset with their wages say something, start a petition, start there, and get in touch with any type of local union organization that will help you, like the SEIU here, the Fight for 15. Organize and do something.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly where I was getting ready to go next. Because I talked, your story is really interesting, because like a month ago you were just, or like a month and a half, 2 months ago, you were just a upset worker and happened to volunteer for Our Revolution and ask the people, hey, what do I do if I want to get some information? And then here you are a month and a half, 2 months later, you shutting the restaurant down. So can you talk a little bit about that process, going from I'm upset, I want things to do, but I'm in a right to work state, they can fire me for anything, what do I do? To, yeah, we're shutting this down, bye.
Yeah. Just persistence. And I mean, I'm lucky because I do volunteer for the Bernie campaign and for any of his organizations, like Our Revolution Nevada. So I met some really awesome people through those organizations that were able to connect me with who I needed to be connected with. Like, it was Jake from Our Revolution that put me in touch with Brian, who then put with SEIU, who then put me in touch with Maite from the Fight for 15, and it just progressed that way. And I was actually Crystal who put me in touch with Jake, who put me in touch with Brian, who put me in touch with Maite, and it was a long process because after the petition, I didn't know where to go. I knew I wanted to strike. That's all I knew I wanted to do, but I knew I needed help because if we had just walked out on our own without the backing of a big organization or a union, then they would have just fired everybody. Yeah. And even though I really don't think they could, because our store is hurting for employees. Nobody wants to work there. It's the lowest paying fast food job in the industry. Everywhere McDonald's starts off at 9, Del Taco 10, Taco Bell 9.25, Jack in the Box 9, Subway, I'm not sure. I think Subway might be minimum, but yeah, it's definitely one of the lowest. So nobody wants to work there. Nobody. We are getting no applications. The ones that we do leave like that as soon as something better comes along. So I don't even feel like if we had just striked on our own that they could have fired all of us. But who knows? They definitely would have tried. There would have been retaliation. Having the backing of an organization and a union that's there to help is immensely beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, you're blessed to know the people that you know. Yes, because very much so. We all we got, really. That's something that's a statement Black people say, but it works directly towards the lower classes as well. We all we got, and they got money and we got people, as AOC put it. Exactly. So
yes, we got the numbers. They got the cash, but we got the numbers. And in the end, I feel like human to human communication and working together is more, there's no monetary value you can put on that. Yeah. So as long as we're together and stand together and fight together, we're gonna win. It's only a matter of time.
That is where we're cutting it. That is the line. Nobody is saying anything better than that. Subscribe, smash that like button. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Your struggle and your story is important. You aren't alone. There are people all over watching this that are going through the same thing, and some that are energized. I remember when I interviewed folks from the teacher strike last year, they told me the thing that gave them the most courage was the folks in West Virginia. And when they did, then everybody else was just like inspired to go. So know that like you doing this and your store doing this is inspiring other stores, other fast food workers, because y'all are the most important ones. Like I appreciate teacher strikes and whatnot, but they're not to say anything negative about teachers striking, because they need to strike and they need to get paid more, but they're not hit as hard as you guys are. You guys are minimum wage workers, and in your case, working with nothing. Y'all are working in 100 million degrees with ice packs on your neck. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, smash the like button, subscribe, become a member to Status Quo. I can't get stories like this out unless you guys support us. So we really appreciate your support. Thank you. Have a good one. I'll catch y'all on the next one.
Out front tonight, chaos at the White House. President Trump's deputy chief of staff, his communications director, is
just because of their connection to President Trump. And I know you've been saying...
We learned recently that Donald Trump threatened to sue his former schools if...
Tired of hearing about Trump 24/7? Become a member at statusquo.com for only $10 a month. Click the notification. With your help, we can start the media revolution.
And before Bernie went on stage, I spoke with his supporters online here, and you really get that feeling from them.
Fantastic interview by Marcus Ely. That's the kind of stuff we're trying to do out in the field across America. Marcus has the same passion that I have, that Jen has, that Ty has, to give a microphone to people that you will never, ever have seen on CNN or MSNBC or in the pages of the New York Times or the Washington Post or any of that. These people, people like that woman that work at Wendy's, don't have a voice in the media. People don't like the aviators. You hurt my feelings. You really hurt my feelings. I thought I was rocking it well. People like Darla don't have a voice in America. They are basically just on the bottom of the CEOs of fast food companies, of Amazon, of Walmart, and of all these vulture capitalists. They're just on the bottom of those CEOs, for Ferragamo shoes. So, in my view, based on what I've been able to do over the last few years, the more you spotlight those voices, the more you spotlight stories like that, the more people get woken up. Or as the cool kids say, get woke. And the more people you can wake up to the systematic, controlled demolition of the working class in this country. I don't even say middle class anymore because that's not a thing anymore. The controlled demolition of working people. The controlled demolition of minorities, which has been going on basically since the beginning of this country. The controlled demolition of the vulnerable. The more people that see this, including conservatives, the more people actually want to do something about it. I'm going to be honest with you. I had this conversation with Marcus the other day. As of now, we don't have the money to keep him past July. I actually fronted my own money to bring him on in the first place because I believe we want to start adding reporters. I think he's got talent, and I want to see. I just said, you know what? I'll roll the dice, and I'll put the money forward first, and let's see what happens. We're a grassroots startup, so some weeks you get a lot of momentum. In the first week Marcus was here, after we were showing his interviews in Nevada covering a Bernie rally, in California covering Bernie stuff and the California Democratic Convention, we got over 50 new members to sign up, which is awesome. That's a huge gain for us. And then some weeks it's more flat, and you have, if you're lucky, 10 people sign up. It just really depends. Also, some weeks you get unlucky and you're going live when other channels are live. Other channels that are much bigger than ours, so our audience goes down. Not knocking any other channels, I don't expect them to work around status quo. So it fluctuates growth, but obviously we can't invent money we don't have. I'd love to keep Marcus in as high a capacity as we can, but we need the money to do it. So if you've been on the fence, if you haven't signed up as a member, we hope you will consider joining us as a member. It's as low as $5 to $10 a month. We are also going to give you bonus content for that $5 to $10 a month. You could become a member annually, also at $179. Somebody did that today. So it's up to you guys. We are able to provide as much as you're able to fund. We are working on trying to get other funding from progressive sources that might have some more than pennies in their wallet. But keyword progressive. We're not interested in selling out. We're not interested on taking shortcuts and trying to get corporate money or any of that stuff. No. Not interested. So here's the GoFundMe link one more time. We just passed $60,000. We would like to hit $61,000 before I go live on Sunday. Sunday, we're going to be live, noon Eastern, for our marathon live stream. We are going to have Senator Mike Gravel on. We're also going to have independent journalist Ben Norton on, in the flesh. So we'll have the full 45-minute interview with Mike Gravel, which was awesome. I love when Mike is on. He's great. Ben will be here in the flesh to give you facts over the corporate propaganda that's smearing all over your TVs and websites on Iran. So hopefully, if you got a couple bucks to spare this weekend, pitch it in the GoFundMe. And if you haven't become a member, sign up. That's statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. youtube.com/join. Join the media revolution as soon as you can. And if you're already a member, you can spread the word. Make sure you spread that word, because the more people that find out about status quo, we have seen, it's kind of like Bernie in 2016. The more time he had before primaries, the more time he had to introduce himself to people. We have found the more people are introduced to status quo, what we're doing, and what we're doing is different because we're actually doing journalism in the field that nobody else is doing. So spread the word, even to your conservative friends, even to your establishment friends. They care about clean water. They care about a lot. It's not just progressives who care about these stories, believe it or not. So thank you for watching. Remember, we will be live noon Eastern. Sunday. Don't wait for YouTube to remind you, because it's doubtful they will. Put it in your phone now. Sunday, noon Eastern. If you're at the beach, you could watch and listen. If you're just hanging out on your porch, you could watch and listen. I spend quite a lot of my day Saturday preparing for Sunday's live stream, so I'm not at the beach. I'm working for you on the weekends, so I hope you'll be there. I hope if you got a couple quarters, you'll put it in the GoFundMe before then. GoFundMe is how we're gonna. I mean, we're trying to if we could get to 61,000, we're definitely going to go to the debate in Miami, because that way we will be able to cover our costs at least. Hopefully, we are able to get this decision reversed. NBC News has denied our credential to get in. So if you want to send them an email to tell them that's not okay and they should reverse that decision, there's the email. You could also call these numbers. The first debate is on Tuesday, so we got to move very quick. Somebody asked, when is the next members call? Probably next week, I believe. Probably next week we'll have a members call. So thank you for watching. Peace out.